JJ, to back up the defensive performance against the Knicks kind of this thoroughly, basically 4 good quarters of defense, where have you seen the improvement there, and kind of what specifically stood out tonight?
You can talk about schemes and rotations and low man and all this stuff. Our guys have been a lot better just guarding the basketball. And certainly in certain schemes, empty corner ISOs, we're going to directional force a direction on a player. But I think just containing the basketball was really good. And then when we were in rotation, we did a really good job. I thought, our attention to detail on the Randall and Edwards coverage was really good. DA was fantastic tonight on that end. And then the first half is, we really couldn't make a shot. He was really the only one scoring efficiently for us. It felt, the first 4 or 5 possessions, we don't touch the paint, but we're getting good looks. It felt like as the half wore on, we were playing pretty good offense. Come back here, we have a 128 expected offensive rating. Told the guys at halftime to just keep trusting in what we're doing. We end up with a 153 offensive rating in the second half. So I thought that end was really good, but really it was, our defensive game plan was fantastic. They executed it. Randall takes 11 shots, 14 points. Edwards goes 2 for 15. Certainly, I think he missed a couple of those threes that, he can make. But I thought the majority of his threes were tough, contested threes.
You mentioned the second half offense, and I know you had alluded to, it was kind of coming for Austin. He starts 1 for 8 and then explodes in the second half. What did you see there, and how encouraging?
Well, the 4-point plays were awesome. I mean, I told him after the game, that's the first time he's ever had multiple 4-point plays in his career. The last 13 seasons, James Harden has 10 and JJ Redick has 4, so he's got a ways to go. But he was able to get downhill. I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's when he's at his best. He's a fantastic shooter, but he's at his best when he's touching the paint. I thought early on him getting into the paint, getting fouled, seeing the ball go through the hoop, and then we saw him as the half wore on. He just got into his bag, and a lot of those were on paint touches, and he hit those non-rim paint twos.
JJ, I have 2 that are kind of related, one micro, one macro. You guys needed DeAndre Ayton tonight based on Jackson going out, Maxey getting downgraded. How important was it for your team to see him respond that way? And then I guess secondly, big picture, how do you just feel like the state of trust that's being built right now among your group? Kind of where do you see that I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's great for his teammates to see him have a really good performance on both ends of the floor. I think it's bigger for DA to have a game like that against a really good team, one of the best teams in basketball. He's won us and helped to win us a ton of games this year. During this stretch, there's been some up and downs, but he was great tonight. It's good for his confidence, and I think the trust side of it, it's easy to. I think as a coach, sometimes you're so focused, the word trust, you think of defense and you think of, I got to do my, if you do your job, you got to trust there's a low man. If, the big's up to touch, you got to trust there's a low man. If you're supposed to be in a flood, you got to trust that there's a low man. There's trust there, but the other side of trust is making the right play. And I think now, coming off, some games in January and some games in February, where I don't think the trust was there on the offensive side as high as it should be. We've consistently been improving on that, and it's getting to a good place.
JJ, you mentioned in the defensive coverages against Ant and Randall. Specifically, how did you feel about the floods against Ant and just generally the, presentation you guys showed off the ball?
Yeah, the film will show it probably a little bit better than live, but I thought when he was ISOing at the top, we did a good job of zoning up. When he was in the slot, we did a good job of containment with a low man and presentation on that low man. When we were in the flood, did a really nice job of being there early. We cleaned up a couple things at halftime. with the Randall greens, similar but not the same as Ant's coverage. But we cleaned up a couple of things there. And then in the pick and roll, again, DA did a really good job for the vast majority of the game of being up to touch and trying to discourage those little pocket threes, those pull-up threes.
Jay, this might have been a trust moment as well with Luka getting fouled by Kyle Anderson, and it was called just Lakers out of bounds, and he asked you guys to go for the review. Has he earned that kind of call to you guys and your coaching staff to you're going to listen to it, if he's that adamant about it? And just overall, what do you think of his night, continuing to put the pressure on their defense?
I actually don't know what happened on that challenge because I was telling Scotty Brooks to shut the up. No, I was because he does this thing every time we have a big lead of coming over to me and trying to make substitutions. There were 6 minutes on the clock, and I was like, "No, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me." And then Bo told me to challenge, so I trust Bo. Bo trusts Luka. I mean, I asked him. I said, "What happened on that challenge?" He said, "Luka was adamant," and I was like, "All right, great. We got to do that." Yeah.
All right, JJ, elsewhere in the league today, Bam Adebayo had 83 points. Wondered if you registered that and what your reaction might be.
I'll have to watch the tape. No, I mean it's incredible what he was able to do. I walked in and I saw the score. He was at the free throw line, and I saw the score. And they've been playing great basketball lately. And I said to my coaching staff, "Oh, the Heat are rolling." And they all kind of looked at each other. They're like, "Are you kidding right now?" I was like, "No, what's up?" They're like, they're 36 and 28 or whatever they are. They were getting ready to be 37 and 28, and they were like, "No, Bam has 77." And I was like, "Huh?" And then I watched the last 3 minutes, and it was a different type of basketball.
JJ, you've been talking for a couple of weeks now about how you guys are going to get it. It's going to happen. What encourages you about that and about tonight, making sure that things are moving in the right direction for you guys?
I'm encouraged by the defense, particularly. We've been trending in that direction now for 25 games. To be above average. I mean, that's kind of, we're not going to be the number one defense in the league, but to be above average. And to have those two performances against those two teams back to back is really encouraging.
Yeah, y'all had a season low 7 turnovers tonight, and obviously Minnesota really relatively aggressive defense. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean we since the first game that I ever coached against them, which was my first game as a head coach. Every time we play these guys, and there's a couple teams, Oklahoma City is another great example, where we really stress offensive physicality. They're physical, and a lot of people think you have to be physical defensively with your grabbing, your holding, your box outs, all that stuff. But to run offense and to get good looks and take care of the basketball, you got to be physical, which means you got to get open, you got to be strong with the basketball, and then the screening stuff is huge. And I thought we did a good job of screening tonight. Thanks, Coach. All right, thank you.